listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast by Dr. T. Michael W. Halcomb, Dr. Frederick J. Long, Dr. Mario Melendez, Dr. Jennifer Noonan, and J. M. Smith. Welcome and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to Proof Text. I'm Michael Halcomb, and in this episode, I'm with the Sensei himself, James Michael Smith, or JM, who runs the Disciple Dojo. I could not help but notice your brown Smell Me shirt there. That talks
smell
about
like
being
Jesus.
being a fragrant offering, a fragrant sacrifice.
The aroma of Christ. Yeah, this is one of our Disciple Dojo t-shirt designs for Bible nerds. So I should smell like Jesus. So it's kind of an accountability as I'm going around in my daily life.
Well, in the days before they had, deodorant and stuff. So, Jesus may have been a fragrant man to be around.
For sure.
I do know they had spices and stuff like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
But
the aroma of Christ, it's got to be that distinct something about us should even smell different. So.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, you think when he was doing his... Yeah, I don't think he was just a carpenter. I think he's more like a mason, right? Like a handyman really is really the word that gets at it for me. He probably worked with wood and stone and, all kinds of things. But, on those hot Middle Eastern dusty days, I bet Christ had a good aroma about him when he was out, building.
Yeah, I don't think Paul was even thinking in that actual physical aroma realm in that metaphor. But, I think there would have been a lot of weird smells throughout history if we were to go back in time in the pre-deodorant, pre-shampoo days.
Yeah.
We'd have to get acclimated a little bit.
Definitely. Well, this is a 10 questions episode, and I love these. They're just kind of on the spot. Neither of us have really looked at what we're going to discuss. But I know the verses and JM doesn't. But so I'm going to throw them his way. And we each get 5 questions. We take turns bouncing back and forth. And we're the rule of thumb is we're allowed to ask questions, but not really answer them. Now, sometimes we'll discuss things here and there, but it's all about asking questions and bringing an observer's lenses to the text. So that's what we're going to do today. While I'm talking here, I'm going to open up stepbible.org, and in a minute, I'm going to pull the Greek text up. I didn't have that open when we stopped, so let me. We'll start with the Old Testament today. I know you like going there, JM. So let me get to the right spot here, almost there. And I think you guys are going to find this one interesting. To me, this is one of the most intriguing passages in all of the Old Testament. And I'm a little bummed that we're not going to give answers on it, because I'd be really curious to hear your answers. But maybe some of your questions will give us a hint. So, all right, then, here we go. I'm going to pull the text up, and I know you've seen this text before, JM, but I know you didn't know it was coming. So here we are. We're in 2 Kings. If you're watching, you'll be able to see it up on the screen. I got the English and the Hebrew. Today, we're actually going to look at 2 verses. And so you have 2 verses to choose from to ask your questions about. 2 Kings 2, 23 and 24. And so I'm going to read. I have the Young's Literal Translation open here. I can pull something like the NIV up if we want to do that. But this YLT is not bad. We're looking at Greek or Hebrew or something like that. So I'll read this. It says, I'm going to modern anglicize it a little bit more. And he goes up there to Beit El, or Bethel. And he is going up in the way. And little youths have come out from the city and scoff at him and say to him, "Go up, bald head. Go up, bald head." And he looks behind him and sees them and declares them vile in the name of Yahweh. And 2 bears come out of the forest and rend of them 40 and 2 lads. Now that's kind of an interesting way to put it, and rend of them 40 and 2 lads. Let's see how the NIV does this real quick, and then we'll get our questions going.
All right.
And it says, and he mauled 42 of the boys, or rend, I mean, I guess rip, destroyed 42 of the boys. So, you want to start? What do you, we can start with 23 or 24. What kind of questions does this bring to mind for you?
This is, yes, this is a great passage, and there are so many questions. Where do I? So we have a Disciple Dojo video on this passage.
Yeah, nice.
That people can jump in and check out, where we do a deep dive on it. My first question would be, what's the setting? In other words, he went up from there to Bethel. So where is there, and what is Bethel? Like, what is Bethel known for, and where is this happening? What's going on setting wise? But I would key in on that, especially on the Bethel part.
Okay. All right. So locational questions. My first question is the YLT says little youths. The NIV says some boys, right? And so I'm really wondering. So is this it? V'na'arim, our youth here. I'm wondering, like what age bracket are these in? Like, are they teenage punks? Are they little kids? Like, what's the age of these youth? Are they right on the cusp of adulthood? How old are these? How old are these na'arim?
I would want to piggyback on that, because they're not. It doesn't just say na'arim; it says na'arim katanim. So small or few or little. Why is that qualifier there? Because na'ar has a range of meanings, but it's not. Na'ar is not the typical word for child. Yeled would be child, or something similar.
Yes.
Na'ar is. I would want to see where else is na'ar used, and is it ever used with katanim? Is it ever used with that word small elsewhere? Or like, is this an idiom, or is this a literal description of these na'arim?
Okay. So the next question I have then is, well, I guess it's the youths come out of the city, and so is this the city of Bethel? Is this a city on the way? Is this a different city? What city are we talking about here? And does that make a difference? It would seem to me, if you said someone comes from New York City, that's maybe quite different than saying someone's coming from Lexington, Kentucky. Or if you say someone's from Boston, that's rather different than saying someone, again, is from Lexington. So what the city designator, like, what's up with that?
Yeah. Like if it has a reputation.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. My third question would be this Vayith Kasu Bo, and they mocked, scoffed, jeered, that verb. I would want to look that up. It's a hithpael, which is a lot of times sort of I believe a reflexive verb, but so they kind of jeering among themselves, or is this just this verb appears in the hithpael stem, but it has an active meaning? That would be something worth checking out. And also, what is it? It seems like a big overreaction on his part if it's to teasing, especially by little children, if that's what they are. So I would want to know, is that what's going on? Is that the best way of translating what they're actually doing to him?
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people don't necessarily have the confidence to go look at the Greek or Hebrew or Aramaic. And hopefully, just from watching this, if you are watching this, you're listening to this, whatever, this will just give you confidence to just go look. Go to stepbible.org, find the passage, pull up the Hebrew, and just look. Like, if you got to go word by word, just go through and look. Get a concordance, look. It's worth just looking. Yeah, great question. So what's the deal with bald heads? Ale Karecha. What is Kareach? What is going? Why is this so? Why are they calling him a bald head? And why is he so ticked off by this? What's going on with that? I mean, yeah. Why? What is bald head? I mean, that seems like a very important detail that they call him that. I love the NIV. It's a little better. Get out of here, baldy. Get out of here, baldy. Versus go up, bald head. Go up, bald head. I love baldy. That's a great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's going on with baldy? And why is that so offensive?
I mean, I can relate. The bald spot on the back of my head is getting pretty big. So I'm just like, ooh, I feel this. I would want to, in that same area, so that same phrase, ale karea. It's like what is it, assonance, or it flow. It's like a chant, and it's the verb, go up. So what do they mean, go up? Are they meaning like get out of here, like go back up to where you came from? Did he come down from, geographically, did he come down to Bethel, or is Bethel itself up? Or is it go up like, in the sense that his mentor Elijah was taken up? And so is it a mocking, like, oh yeah, why don't you go up too, Mr. Prophet? Like, what sense does go up have to mean? Is it just like the way you'd say get out of here? Or is it the way, is it something a little more, what's the word, blasphemous going on, given his role and reputation? I'd want to dig into that. And it's repeated. So things in scripture tend to, when they're repeated, it tends to be for a reason.
And what's interesting, just noticing, you have the you have the double alea, the double hirak there, but you also have the double alea in the first line. You see that? So you get the
and he went up and going up.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting to see. You have in the opening line the repetition of it, and then in the final line the repetition of it.
I wonder if there's any literary stylistic things going on.
That seems impossible to not. I mean, I don't want to say impossible, I guess, but it seems like that's way more purposeful than accidental to have the doubling up down here and the doubling up here, exactly the same words. I mean, different forms up here, but still.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of. I guess my next question then would be: Is is this like a like a comedic story? Like, is it a joke? Did this for real happen? I mean, when I'm almost like a parable. I'm like reading like what I see here, this repetition of Allah, Allah, Allah in the first line and in the last line. I'm also seeing the repetition of the sounds mem and bait. So you get the misham, bait, and then you get the baderek. You got the im here. You got the mean here. Like there's all these b and m sounds, and then the lamed sounds. It's just there's got to be wordplay happening, right? There's too much of it there to just ignore it. So that's my question: is there a wordplay, and does that wordplay land us into some sort of punchline or comedic story or a parable? So I don't know. I'm just brainstorming right now. I haven't researched this.
Let's see. What am I on?
I need to watch your video after. I need to go watch your video after.
Yeah, absolutely. Shameless plug. I'll send you the link. You can throw it in the description, the show notes. I would want to know, or I would want to ask the next question. So Elisha turns. So in verse 24, and he turned after him or behind him or turned around. So they're coming behind him, and he turned aside. What's going there? And he looked at them, and that's the verb ra'ah, to look at, to see. And he cursed them in the name of Yahweh. So turned, looked, cursed. Three very distinct verbs. Are these all one action? Like he turned, looked, and like all at the same time, or is it is he deliberate? Or is the narrator wanting us to see very deliberate actions? Yeah, I would want to. There might be a grammatical explanation for that. I mean, they're all the Vayipain and Vayiraim, and then Vayikalem. So yeah, I want to know what's the sequence there in the time span and the intentionality of this.
You've got me thinking now about a question. Is the curse, is there a cause and effect going on here? Does the curse cause the bears to come out, or does he turn, see them, curse them, and then just by happenstance the bears come out? So that is the curse related to the bears coming out? I mean, it would seem like it, or was it just like, like these bad things happen simultaneously? Like, yeah.
Well, and
so
then
I think
guess
we'll have one more.
Yeah, I think my last one. I have two. I'm deciding
Go ahead.
which one I would want to ask.
You can have two.
Well, a compound question then. Well, no, this actually piggybacks on a question you asked earlier, and I'm just seeing it now. The boys come out of the city, Yatsu, and then when he curses in the name of God, the she bears, they come out.
Ah, nice.
So are we meant to see, this group of boys coming out and then this group of bears coming out in response? That's a kind of an aside, but it's an interesting thing, and I just noticed it. My last real question though would be the final verb, tibaka ana, and they what did your translation say? I'm looking at JPS has mangled, rended, I think
Yeah,
was
the
what.
rend, and then the NIV says mauled.
Yeah. And King James says tear, Tare. Not even in the past tense. So there's some
That's funny.
question about what these bears did to the boys.
Hmm.
RSV has tore, mauled, rended. I think the verb it means to split. I think bakat in its root let me double check. To split or to cleave
Yeah,
is kind of a general meaning. I know it's used of splitting wood, and
that's interesting. That's really
so
interesting.
it's I would wonder if this is the same verb that's used to describe preparing sacrifices. If this has a cultic sense to it or not. I
Hmm.
mean, that may be a dead end, but I would start looking in that direction.
You've got me wondering. I mean, could it? Does it have to be like the bear laid paws on them, right? Could there have been a group of boys and the bears came out and just split through them, like the boys, parted them, like, and they all ran off?
Hmm.
That that's interesting. If you just split them up, I don't know if you can have that sense. I'd need to do a little more research, but
Yeah,
um,
it's a PL.
wow,
So what would the PL stem? How would that be used? That'd be worth digging around and looking and seeing what we find.
this lexicon just has to break through, like the bears broke through the boys, like
Hmm.
that could imply just splitting them up, like scaring them off in a sense.
Hmm.
So I don't know, that completely changes the story then, if the bears didn't actually get a hold of them and just made them run off.
Hmm.
um my last question is in verse 23. As I said earlier, right, they're called Na'arim Katanim. And then in verse 24, at the very end, we get Yeladim. So now we have Yelid, like,
Mm-hmm.
so why the change now?
Hmm.
It's from Na'arim to Yeladim. So that's interesting to me. Yeah. Okay. Man, it's super interesting. Yeah, send your link, and if I can remember, I'll put that in the show description here, and people will try to link to that as well.
Yeah.
Um, and I assume in that one you're doing a deep dive and you're giving some answers, whereas here we're just giving questions. But um, so yeah, it'll be fun to watch that. So, man, I appreciate you raising some of those questions, noticing things I wasn't quite noticing. I love the comparison of the boys coming out of the city and the bears coming out of the woods. Um, that's something you see in the Hebrew text that I feel like when I'm reading the Greek text, there isn't. I mean, sometimes there's that kind of thing, but it seems like there's just so much more turn of phrase and wordplay in the Hebrew than there is in the Greek text. Um, I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't want to overspeak there, but it just seems like it. Whenever I'm reading Hebrew, it just has a different vibe to it than when I'm reading Greek.
It definitely
Um,
does because of, I think, just sheer number of vocabulary words in Hebrew. Biblical Hebrew is less, I believe, than Septuagint New Testament Greek. And so I think by nature, Hebrew words have to do double duty sometimes. And so you do
mm,
get more of that. I notice it too. Yeah. When I'm reading something and
yeah,
translating Hebrew, you definitely notice things that you certainly not in English. They don't always
yeah,
come through.
exactly. It's a shame that so much is lost in translation. I mean, it really is. Like, just so much is lost.
Well, that's
Um,
one of the reasons I really like and I recommend to Disciple Dojo viewers having a copy of the Net Bible. because even the translation and the NET translation, I don't think it's that great. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's nothing special. But the notes in the Net Bible, I think it's like 100,000 notes, something crazy. And they do a great job of pointing out those word plays and turns of phrases and similar vocabulary. So if somebody doesn't have access to the original languages, that's a great resource to and it's free on YouVersion, and I don't know if it's on Step Bible or not, but it's free access. So I encourage people to check it out.
I assume, I mean, I can look real quick and see if it's on there. You said it's the NET?
Yeah, the Net Bible, but the notes, not the actual translation, but the notes.
Yeah, it's on there. NET with full notes.
Yeah, that's a great resource for people that are curious about this stuff.
So I'm not sure. I guess you just, when you're looking at the NET, you click the little arrow maybe, and it's going to give you the notes. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So go check out stepbible.org, and I'll go check out Disciple Dojo and the YouTube page, the website, all kinds of good stuff over there. And Jam, thanks. Appreciate it, man.
My pleasure.
Y'all keep watching and share the podcast. We're growing. I love it. Share the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, and hit like if you like the video. We'd love to hear from you. All right, until next time, hope that helps.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.